I'm sure the town will be glad to accommodate you. Just remember one thing, keep your face toward the camera so we can see who's smiling at us through all those towers and feathers. There was a time when television comfort food meant spending half an hour in a place called Hooterville. A place with a slow-moving train known as the Cannonball, a widowed mother trying to run the Shady Rest Hotel, and 3 daughters who somehow managed to turn everyday life into controlled chaos. That show was Petticoat Junction. With B.E.A. Bernardret as the warm and steady Kate Bradley, Edgar Buchanan snoozing and scheming as Uncle Joe, and the Bradley girls, Billy Joe, Bobby Joe, and Betty Joe, becoming household faces through endless reruns, Petticoat Junction carved out a permanent place in television history. For Gen X viewers especially, the show became a familiar companion, always waiting on the dial no matter how many times you'd already seen the episode. The series began in 1963, when CBS looked at the runaway success of the Beverly Hillbillies and decided to strike gold twice. Petticoat Junction rolled onto the schedule that fall and stayed there all the way until 1970, delivering 7 seasons and 222 episodes filled with train whistles, porch conversations, and small-town charm. Today, we are heading back to the Shady Rest Hotel for 15 fascinating facts you may not know about Petticoat Junction. From casting near misses and unexpected tragedies to hidden details you probably overlooked even after a dozen reruns, there's a lot more behind this cozy sitcom than meets the eye. Before we jump in, be sure to like and subscribe to remember when for more deep dives into the shows you grew up with. And share this with a friend who still hums the Petticoat Junction theme song without realizing it. Now let's start the countdown. Number 15. Petticoat Junction debuted as the 4th most-watched show in America. Petticoat Junction didn't just premiere with decent ratings, it exploded onto television as the 4th most-watched show in the entire country. Not 4th on CBS. Not 4th in its time slot. 4th overall. That's remarkable for a show set in a fictional town with a hotel that doubled as a social hub and a train that ran more on vibes than schedules. By September of 1963, audiences were already hooked on rural comedies thanks to the Beverly Hillbillies. When Petticoat Junction arrived with more small-town warmth, family humor, and zero cynicism, viewers didn't just sample it, they committed. By the end of its first season, creator Paul Henning had 2 shows sitting comfortably in the top 5. Even more impressive, Petticoat Junction stayed in the top 20 for its first 4 years. Millions of Americans chose the Shady Rest over spy thrillers, crime dramas, and big city stories. Its popularity was so strong that CBS expanded the Hooterville universe with Green Acres in 1965. At its peak, the show wasn't just television, it was weekly comfort. Number 14. Sharon Tate was cast as Billy Joe until sponsors intervened. One of the most surprising what ifs in Petticoat Junction history involves Sharon Tate. In the spring of 1963, Tate was officially cast as Billy Joe Bradley. Contracts were signed, wardrobes were fitted, and full cast photos were taken with her included. Then sponsors discovered that Tate had previously posed for semi-nude photographs in Europe, images that would later appear in Playboy. In 1963, sponsors held enormous power, and Procter & Gamble reportedly panicked. They threatened to pull their sponsorship entirely unless Tate was removed from the show. At the last possible moment, Paul Henning was forced to recast the role. Sharon Tate was out, and Janine Riley stepped in as Billy Joe for the first 2 seasons. Tate remained under contract with Filmways, though, and studio head Martin Ransohoff steered her towards smaller roles. That's how she ended up appearing in 15 episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies as Janet Trago. One sponsor's objection changed television history. Number 13. 3 rejected titles came before Petticoat Junction. Finding the right name wasn't easy. Before settling on Petticoat Junction, Paul Henning tested several alternatives. The first was Ozark Widow, a title that may have been accurate but sounded far more tragic than comedic. Another option was Whistle Stop, a nod to the Cannonball Train, but it felt more like a railroad documentary than a family sitcom. Then there was Dan Too Tin, a folksy phrase that leaned hard into rural humor but risked turning the show into a caricature. Eventually, Henning landed on Petticoat Junction, a title that was visual, playful, and unforgettable. It perfectly matched the opening scene of the girls hanging their petticoats on the water tower and set the tone for the show's light-hearted charm. Number 12. The opening credits hit a cheeky joke. The opening sequence of Petticoat Junction worked on 2 levels. To kids, the Bradley sisters bathing in the water tower looked like harmless country living. To adults in the 1960s, the sight of petticoats fluttering in the breeze was a mild bit of primetime flirtation. Even the theme song's lyric about lots of curves, was officially said to reference the winding C&FW Railroad. But paired with images of three attractive young women, it carried a playful wink that Paul Henning was famous for slipping past network censors. Number 11. The Cannonball train was practically a main character. The Hooterville Cannonball wasn't just a prop, it was essential to the show's identity. The train footage came from a real locomotive, Sierra No. 3, a Hollywood favorite that later appeared in High Noon, Unforgiven, and Back to the Future Part 3. On the show, the Cannonball ran without urgency, stopping whenever the crew felt like fishing, eating, or chatting. It wasn't about going somewhere. It was about being there. That absurd freedom helped define Hooterville as its own timeless world. Number 10. The Shady Rest was inspired by a real hotel. The Shady Rest Hotel was based on stories from Paul Henning's wife Ruth, who spent summers at her grandparents' Buer's Hotel in Eldon, Missouri. Located next to the Rock Island Line, the hotel served home-cooked meals and catered to travelers who arrived by train. Though the real hotel no longer exists, its spirit lives on in every porch conversation and train whistle heard on Petticoat Junction. Number 9. Uncle Joe was played by a former dentist. Edgar Buchanan, who played Uncle Joe Carson, was once an oral surgeon. He ran a dental practice in Eugene, Oregon before switching careers after catching the acting bug through local theater. Though Uncle Joe was famously lazy, Buchanan was anything but. Surprisingly, he was only 3 years older than B.E.A. Bernadette, though audiences assumed he was much older due to his character's demeanor. Number 8. The Shady Rest dog became a movie star. The nameless dog at the Shady Rest was actually Higgins, a shelter rescue trained by Frank Inn. Higgins later starred in the 1974 hit film Benji, becoming a global sensation. Edgar Buchanan returned from semi-retirement to co-star with Higgins in Benji, making it the final film for both of them. Number 7. Sam Drucker connected the entire Hooterville universe. Frank Cady's Sam Drucker appeared regularly on the Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, and Green Acres. As store owner, postmaster, justice of the peace, and newspaper editor, Sam held the entire fictional universe together. Number 6. The Bradley sisters were recast constantly. Over 7 seasons, 6 actresses played the 3 Bradley daughters. Only Linda K. Henning, who portrayed Betty Jo, appeared in every season. She auditioned under a shortened name to avoid nepotism, despite being Paul Henning's daughter. Number 5. It took decades for B.E.A. Bernadette to lead a show. By the time Petticoat Junction premiered, B.E.A. Bernadette had already appeared in over 1,000 radio and television episodes. She was also the original voice of Betty Rubble on The Flintstones. The show finally gave her the starring role she'd earned. Number 4. B.E.A. Bernadette's illness changed the show. Bernadette was diagnosed with lung cancer and missed multiple episodes during season 5. She returned briefly before her health declined again. She passed away on October 13, 1968, at age 62. June Lockhart joined the show as Dr. Janet Craig, but the loss of Kate Bradley marked a turning point from which the show never fully recovered. Number 3. Petticoat Junction ended during the rural purge. Despite solid ratings, CBS cancelled Petticoat Junction in 1970 during its rural purge, targeting older and rural skewing shows in favor of younger, urban audiences. Number 2. B.E.A. Bernadette was Lucille Ball's first choice for Ethel Mertz. Lucille Ball wanted Bernadette as Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy, but contractual obligations prevented it. The role went to Vivian Vance, changing sitcom history forever. Number 1. The Hooterville shows were filmed feet apart. Petticoat Junction, the Beverly Hillbillies, and Green Acres were filmed on neighboring soundstages, making crossovers easy and natural. Actors often walked directly from one set to another, reinforcing the shared world audiences loved. And there you have it, 15 fascinating facts about Petticoat Junction. Which one surprised you most? Let us know in the comments, hit like if this brought back memories, and subscribe for more trips back to the shows we grew up with. All aboard, and until next time, this is Remember When.